I'm Gina Allgaier. I'm the executive director of a newly formed nonprofit called Speak Up About Drugs, and I'm a very passionate marketer. I'm currently working with the Mars Advertising Agency. Speak Up About Drugs is a nonprofit for us to go out and really, educate and provide resources and support legislation for those in need. I would love to be able to get out there with that strong call to action to encourage others to speak up about drugs to save lives. The testing today in the schools that's done, the apnea testing, shows that our students, our kids, 90% of them know that drinking and driving is bad and that their parents don't approve of it. Yet only 38% of kids know that their parents don't approve of drug use. So we have a lot of education to do for our kids and students out there today, and I think that a coordinated, really strong message needs to be sent, and we would love to be the ones to share it. My firstborn son, Tristan, died last summer when he used cocaine that was unknowingly laced with fentanyl. As you can see, Tristan was a clean-cut kid. He was smart, and if I do say so myself, he was really good looking. Tristan had an adventurous spirit, and he had big, audacious dreams for his life. We raised our boys here in Northwest Arkansas in the schools, in the church, and on the ball fields. Tristan played basketball through 9th grade. He was a bike mechanic all during high school at a local bike shop. Tristan loved being outdoors. He loved mountain biking, wakeboarding, snowboarding, camping, fishing. Tristan was like most of the kids living here in Northwest Arkansas and across the country. A good kid from a good family. But Tristan chose to use drugs, and addiction chose him. When he was in high school, he and friends started experimenting with marijuana. For Tristan, that led to buying Adderall from friends. That led to him using Xanax, which was his drug of choice. My son died 10 months ago today, and I am broken. I do find, though, that in this brokenness, the light comes in. And for me, I'm able to stand back and see more clearly ways of moving forward to make a positive difference, to create positive social change. I'm a 12-year sales and marketing veteran with Kraft Foods, so I'm officially a dot connector. I thrive on creating solutions, and I thrive on achieving big, audacious goals. Tristan wanted to do that in his life, and he couldn't. So I'm here to do it for him. After Tristan died, our family created an organization called Speak Up About Drugs. So it's an advocacy coalition. Our 3 tangible pillars are education, legislation, and resources. Our vision is 0 addiction, 0 overdose. Why? Because every day in this country, 174 people are dying from overdose. 174 people. As you probably know, Arkansas ranks first in the country for the misuse of opioid drugs among youth ages 12 to 17. We have to educate adults and youth about the dangers of opioid and illicit drugs. Arkansas ranks second in the country as the most overprescribed state. We have to get those prescription drugs off the counters and off the streets. And of course, we lack resources, which no one knows better than you all. Arkansas ranks 38th in the country according to the 2017 MAA report for the mental health and addiction services that are offered here in the state of Arkansas. Yet we rank 27th in the country for the prevalence of need for our residents here in the state in these areas. We need resources. We need help so that we can help those who are dealing with addiction and mental health issues. We wanted to talk today a little bit about the path that we went on with Tristan. There's this other area that I found to be quite a struggle. It's this lack of coordinated care. And you heard Nick talk about it earlier, and of course that's a big reason why we're all here today. The lack of a strategic pathway for healing when people are on this journey. I can tell you for my own experience, I had a really best-in-class example of coordinated care. This is back in the year of 2000. I was living in my hometown of Houston, and I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. The tumor presented as rapid vision loss in my right eye. So I went to the ophthalmologist, they ran all the tests, they determined I needed to go to the next level of care. They made all the arrangements. They called the insurance companies, they found the doctor, they made the appointment. I went off to the retina specialist, they did all of their tests, and again, they determined that I needed to go to the next level of care. So their office made all the arrangements. I went to the neurologist, they ran the MRI, diagnosed the tumor, sent me to the neurosurgeon. Within 5 weeks, I had a diagnosis and I was being scheduled for surgery. And I didn't have to do all the legwork. I didn't have to call the insurance companies, search for doctors, try to make the appointments, try to figure out which the best doctor was to go to. And it was a huge relief for me. I was able to focus on self-care with my own health. I was able to focus on my 2 young children, my full-time job that I still had to go to every day, and prepare my husband for what could have been the worst-case scenario. Compare that to my addiction journey with my son Tristan. When he first started using marijuana in high school with friends, of course, we grounded him. We took away all of his prized possessions. It didn't help, by the way. So we decided to start with counselors. We actually went to 3. We went to a family care counselor, we went to an addiction specialist, and we went to a counselor that focused on troubled teens. All really great people, really great conversations. Yet no one kind of saw the red flags that were there. Tristan was starting to exhibit some other symptoms that nobody called out. Nobody recommended that we go to a next level of care. The symptoms were mirrored to what I thought, based on my limited research and knowledge, were ADD. So I took him to an ADD doctor. After a self-assessment, Tristan was prescribed some pills and sent on our way. Tristan was 18 years old. Thanks to HIPAA laws, I became unavailable to have that line of sight into what he was being prescribed, how much he was being prescribed, how often he was being prescribed it. When he was 19, he moved off to Seattle with friends and got a hold of a doctor there. That doctor prescribed him Adderall, quite certain he used to get high or sell for drug money. When he was 20 years old, still out in Seattle, I got a phone call. You need to come right away. Tristan's spiraling. I got out there to find that Tristan had bought a boutique drug off the internet, shipped it to his house. It was causing him to cycle, and so he was going into rages. And then he'd be fine, and then he would be in a state of hysteria, and then crying, and then back in a rage. I got the police involved. It was dangerous. Police couldn't do anything. There was no imminent danger to himself or to anybody else. And I could not get him to go get help. It took me 3 days of begging him. I finally got him to agree to go to a hospital with me. We get to the hospital, they do an evaluation. He tests positive for marijuana and benzos. No real imminent cause for alarm or danger. They released him. and I begged them to keep him. They really couldn't keep him. I spent what was, up to that point, the most frightening night of my life with my son, followed by an equally frightening morning and actually a very dangerous morning, culminating in him being taken into custody and put into an involuntary hold in yet another hospital system for 72 hours. The caseworker met with us, and she did bring up that bipolar could be at play. She sent us on to a mental health hospital for evaluation, and I thought, great, we're finally going to get somewhere and get the help that Tristan needs. But after 4 days of sitting in a mental health hospital and a few conversations with caseworkers, they let Tristan go. They said that he probably had mild anxiety and that I should find a treatment program to take him to. Now keep in mind, I'm across the country trying to take care of my son. I don't know anything about addiction treatment. I didn't know what dual diagnosis was. So I'm doing research on the internet. I'm calling the insurance companies, trying to figure out a place to take him. When a family is in crisis with a loved one, that is not the time to be creating a plan. I did thankfully find a treatment center that would take him 36 hours later. Now keep in mind, he's 20 years old. He doesn't have to go with me, and he did not want to. He did, I think, just to placate me, and even though I thought he was clean, I had checked all his belongings in his bags, he managed to sneak Xanax into the treatment center. 6 days later, after his 21st birthday, he was kicked out of the treatment center and he was sent on a bus back to Seattle. Tristan could not maintain a job. He could not stay in school. His healthy relationships with friends were failing. 4 months later, strung out and depressed, Tristan came home to Northwest Arkansas. So we started all over again. We went to a counselor. The counselor recommended treatment centers. We should research several of them in other states and across the country. So I did that, but I couldn't get him to agree to get on a plane with me to go to treatment. Addicts don't typically agree to those kind of things until they've hit rock bottom, which he hadn't. So I took him to my primary care physician. She recommended the only local treatment center that she had heard about. After sitting with the intake counselor, that individual didn't really see that we really needed the services, I guess. She sent us on our way, said come back if we felt like we needed them later. I contacted the insurance company. I contacted several psychiatrists. Nobody was available for 4 to 6 months. Contacted the insurance again, did more research. Finally found a local psychiatrist who would run some tests on Tristan, which we did. But sadly, he died before all that work was completed. Turns out he did have bipolar, chicken and the egg, which comes first, I don't know. We didn't get the help that I felt like we needed. And sadly, today, though we don't point fingers at anyone and we greatly appreciate all of the work all of you all do, I honestly feel like if Tristan had had cancer or had he had diabetes, I think he would still be alive today and he'd be getting the care that he needed. It is incumbent upon us to create a coordinated care system, to create strategic pathways of healing for all the social determinants of health so that no one is ever lost again in the system. If we do this, together we can create zero homelessness, zero food insecurity, and zero addiction. Thank you.